Hi YouTube, and welcome back to yet another tutorial by Level Up Networks. Today is going to be a different tutorial. I had a client which received a cracked laptop, so both the top shell and the bottom shells were cracked and it was pretty much bent. Obviously, since they paid for it, it was an error done by the courier. They wanted to transfer the existing hardware into a new shell from the laptop. So today basically is going to be that. I'm going to show you how to dismantle the Dell Latitude e7440 laptop, and then we got a used shell from another dead Dell machine, another e7440, and we transferred everything from the broken one into the refurbished shell. Hope you enjoy it, and here we go. Let's get to it. So here we have it. This is the laptop I was talking about. As you can see, it's also a refurbished laptop. It has a few cracks in it as it was given to our clients. And what we have in the background there is the replacement shell that we purchased to get it. So yeah, there in the corners where you have the first crack. So we're gonna start off, step by step. I won't go through all the steps because of my video editing skills are not the best. But yeah, first thing we did was obviously take off the battery, and then essentially what we've done here is remove all the screws. So as you can see there, we start, doesn't matter the order, we take all the screws from from where the battery was. And then gradually we're going to start moving around the case to remove the rest of the screws. Now, something that is very important when you remove the screws is ensure that you remember where they went. Otherwise, you're going to go mental when you try to put the laptop back. So in the box there behind, I have different compartments where I'm putting the screws as I go. And obviously, make sure you keep track of where you're putting everything, because like I said, it's crucial when you put the laptop back that you put the screws in the right place. I mean, how many times do you not take things apart and you have too many screws left over, or you never have, you may have times where you don't have enough screws because you've dropped them, or or who knows. All right, so that's the back of the case where all the hardware starts. So the first thing we're going to start removing now is the hard drive. So I didn't go through all the steps, but essentially you take all the screws, you unplug it, you take it out. There we go. I'm taking off the RAM. So very carefully. You don't want to damage any of the components. So excuse me again. So yeah. There went the RAM, and once you do that, like I said, the order doesn't really matter. I'm starting here to take out the rest of the screws from the back of the case. Now the good thing about these laptops, or the bad things, is that you would think that one screwdriver fits all the screws. No, you're never that lucky. So you will see throughout the video that I had to use multiple screwdrivers, and because this as well was not a new laptop, it was a refurbished one when we got it for the client. Some of the screws were worn out, so sometimes it took a bit more effort to remove every single screw, which can become also quite daunting and a bit of a pain in the rear end, if you know what I mean. It never really stops surprising me just how many screws there's in a laptop. It's just ridiculous. It's like fair enough. You know, it's a mobile device. You don't want it to, things moving around in it. You want it to be, sturdy. But I must have taken about at least 40 screws and of all different sizes and shapes, and very, very, very annoying. Now here, obviously, after I take all the screws from the back, there's a back panel on the laptop, which I removed the screws from there, and you need to take that out so you're able to take the case later on, and also disassemble the screen. So now I'm going to start taking out the cover for the screen. Once again, if you don't have spares, which I did in this case, but be extremely careful as all these parts are very sensitive. In particular, the screen, you don't want to damage it because otherwise you will start pixelating it and you get some problems with the colors. So the screen is probably one of the most sensitive items on the laptop. As you can see, it's very thin, so you want to be extremely careful with it. So yeah, I'm proceeding to remove all the screws from the screen itself, and then after I do that, then I will literally unplug it. So there's a very thin cable that goes from the screen into the motherboard, which I will shortly show you how to remove that. So as you can see there at the bottom, the actual cable, the way it works on the laptops is that they put some sellotape or scotch tape on top of it, and then you just need to take out the little handle on the interface, which will allow you to unplug it, and then you can remove the actual screen from the laptop. Once again, be very careful with it because any bump, any scratch on it, anything on that screen will damage it for good, and you'll need to get a new one, and they're not exactly the cheapest things there. So under that compartment that I'm going now is where you have to unplug the actual keyboard, and this particular laptop has a trackpad and also an integrated mouse on the keyboard, so all the connections are going right there. Once again, be careful when you unplug it. They're very thin cables with copper extensions, and if you damage the little copper extensions as well, then there goes the device. Like I told you before, I keep on finding screws everywhere. Right there, I'm starting to take out the wireless connectivity of the laptop, which goes straight into that card right there. Essentially, it has two connectors, so you need to remove them both, and then you can take the actual card out. Alright, so there I'm proceeding with the actual fan. This one was, it took me ages. You're going to see the short version of it, but between the screws not wanting to negotiate, then the cable that was actually giving power to it was stuck in it, and it was just very difficult to remove it. You'll probably see there, I'm not sure if I edited it out, but it took me ages to take that fan. I think that was probably one of the most complex dissections of this machine that I had to do. Yeah, I think this was about the stage where I just gave up on the fan. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go over it. So I do apologize, there's no zoom there, but essentially there's where the actual CPU is. So I'm removing the cover to the CPU. Obviously it comes with paste on it. So when you remove it, you won't. What I did when I reassembled it on the new shell is obviously I fast forwarded it because essentially just have to backtrack everything I've done. But yeah, so the cover for the CPU, like I said, has paste. So before you place it again on the CPU, once you put it on the new shell, make sure you clean the remaining paste out of it. Now the way to do that is if you get some rubbing alcohol and either with a clean cloth. If you're going to use a cloth, make sure that's not the one that leaves little threads on it. It has to be very smooth. Dip it in alcohol and just clean it all out. Also clean it all out on the actual CPU, and then you're ready to put some more paste on it, and then you cover it again. But like I said, I won't be doing that now because I'll be doing it later during the assembly. But because it's all fast forward, you won't see it very clear. So yeah, there I gave up completely on the fan. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go somewhere else before I lose my sanity. So I'm gonna start removing the actual top cover of the laptop where the actual screen lays. So once again, removing all the screws on the edges, and then I will be disconnecting it from the back of the computer, and then I could be able to remove the cover from the actual body or the bottom shell of the actual laptop. Now bear in mind, this is like the short version of the video. Like I said, I've had to cut so much time out of it. I think it took me roughly 3.5 hours, 4 hours to do it all. I mean, removing everything and then putting it back. Complete nightmare. I did take a couple breaks, obviously, because I was about to throw the laptop across to my neighbor out of pure insanity that I was going through. It was just at some stage, like I said, was not playing ball at all. So yeah, I think the whole thing took about 4 hours, let's say. Alright, so there, yeah, as you can see now I finally managed to remove the fan. So now I'm going to start going for the keyboard. So under that little panel, once again, be very careful when you take it out. As you can see, it's very delicate, very thin. You'll find the screws for both the keyboard and actual buttons for the trackpad. No, sorry. Those are actually the buttons for the integrated mouse, which are actually, if you can see there, a little blue circle in the middle of the keyboard. That is the actual mouse, the old style. There you go. There you can see it, the little green button, or blue turquoise, don't know. Once again, screws everywhere. It's nightmare, guys. Nightmare, nightmare, nightmare. And obviously not all of them are in the most obvious of places. So you think you have them all, you start taking things out, it doesn't bulge, and like, oh, there it is, another screw. But we got there at the end. We did. Like I said, lots of time, lots of effort, but at the end of the day, we got there. So yeah, there, like I said, I missed that screw there and it just wouldn't come out. But then, there we go. Keyboard is gone. So as you can see there you have the connectors that I disconnected earlier from the back. So you can see how thin they are, and there comes the trackball as well. Sorry, the track. I keep on saying trackball. Those are the buttons for the mouse. Now those are the actual from the motherboard itself, different connectors. Like for example, you know, you got the fans there. You got another display one. You had the last one I did there was for the the buttons for the volume, for the mute and volume up and volume down. So they're all over the place. So you have to be very delicate. Every time you remove a part, it's like a jigsaw, you find another part. All right, so there we go. That's the one of the middle covers. So all I have left to take out is the actual brain of the computer, which is, the motherboard. So once again, take all the screws. Now, if you're gonna do this exercise, make sure you take everything out. I mean, when you get a new shell, sometimes they come with all the components. In this case, it did with most of them, but a few of them were missing, and I only realized when I put it all back together. And then a few things weren't working, like the fan wasn't working, the keyboard wasn't working. I went through the connections again to see, and then I realized after a long time that I actually missed one component, which is literally on the back of the motherboard. So it's so if you turn it around, I didn't show you in the video because guys, sorry, I got fed up. But essentially in the back of the motherboard, there's another component which you need to remove, and that basically controls it interfaces the motherboard with all the components essentially. So because of powers, like the fan started working, the keyboard started working, the actual mouse started working, but I didn't realize, like I said, until I tried a few times. I thought I maybe had connected the keyboard and the fan incorrectly, so I put everything, literally I put all of it apart almost, and until I realized, like I said, that I was missing one particular component. So you have to be extra thorough, make sure you take everything out before you start building the new laptop. Now this is the first time I've ever done it, so it's a personal victory. I tend to stay away from laptops because of this. It's just so annoying, so much you have to do. I'm so much more a PC person, there's more space, everything's a bit more obvious, more friendly, obviously it's not compacted. There it is, there's the device I missed. So that's the one I removed. I didn't do it last time, which is an idiot of me. I should have realized after I turned it around like 200,000 times. But I thought when I took the motherboard that it will come out, and it didn't. No, actually, you know what? I'm telling you crap there. It's not there. It's underneath the actual, so on the shell, so on the left hand side I have the little grayish bottom part, and that's where the actual component was. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, so like I was trying to tell you, there was a few parts I missed. Actually, one part I missed at the end. But afterwards, after a lot of looking into the board, I figured out where it was. I removed it. So now I'm going to show you the fast version of building the laptop back on the new shell. But essentially, guys, it's just, building it up is a lot more easy. Once you put the motherboard, you put everything on top of it. It's just removing things where it's a bit harder because you don't know what comes out, what comes in. But yeah, once it's all out, you'll see in the fast version. It took me, like I said before, it took me 4 hours to do the whole thing. So probably 3 of those hours were to remove everything. Then probably 45 minutes was to build it. And then I realized I missed that part, like I said earlier. I put it back, and yeah, it all started working. But, let's have a look, shall we? get the latest tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until then, take care.